And here we go, part 3. St. Andrew, who can do no wrong, at least in his own mind. And as a disclaimer, right in the beginning, I want to make it clear that this isn't some petty nonsense that's feeding into what some people would call infighting. A point that gets under my skin because I'm here to get to the bottom of things. I don't know Andre from Adam or anyone else for that matter, most people, let's put it that way. And even if I did, even if he was my brother, the most trusted person on the planet, if he was wrong on something, I'm going to call him out on it. But this information that I'm going to, I won't say reveal today, but that I'm going to cover today, was something that was brought to me early on in the debate that I was having with Andre. However, it wasn't relevant at that time. Sure, this audio that I'm recording right now is about Andre Anglin, so it is relevant. But at the time, I was debating Andre on China, the global Jewish conspiracy, and other topics. So to bring it up would have probably been a bit petty at that point in time. It would have been a sign to everyone that I was taking things personally. But the fact of the matter is, there was no frustration on my part as far as losing the debate. I was the one who was being selectively censored. The other tactics, once more, that he was putting on display, you can go back and read the stuff or listen to the shows or the videos that I made. I'm not going to cover it all again. I'm just making a simple point here that I was there to debate the issues that are far more important than either he or I. And the personal stuff, the false associations, the attacks on the messenger were being directed from he to I, not in the other direction. Had I wanted to respond in kind, this particular audio that I'm going to share some excerpts from 2012, a radio show that he did with Paul Ironshore, would have blown him out of the water in that regard. But like I said, I'm quite capable of discussing the facts themselves without needing to resort to the attacks on the messenger. But I'm also going to take notice of the fact that his tactics were very Jew-like. I don't know how else to describe them, but that pretty much covers it. Doesn't mean he's a Jew, doesn't mean he's not a Jew. It just means his tactics were very Jew-like. Tactics that those of us who engage Jews or antis will witness across the board at every level of dissent. Again, the false associations, that Alex Jones nonsense that he kept bringing up. I pleaded with him, as a friend even, to not do so, but he kept doing so. He kept relying on that, the selective censorship. And then ultimately, he finally had the courage over this Putin stuff to come out and acknowledge to everyone that he was permanently banning me. And the thing is, though, excuse me, he blamed it on my misquoting him. And I'll get into that in a minute. But it was rather pathetic, a rather pathetic excuse. That and the fact that I was too much of a conspiracy theorist. And this is something that he has the audacity to project onto me at a time when he's going on and on about Putin being sent here by God and theorizing about Putin's motives. And what is even crazier than something I would expect from Alex Jones, the way that he's jumped on the Putin bandwagon. But whatever. Fact of the matter is, he didn't ban me for those two reasons. Those are pathetic excuses. And with all that being said, this audio here is about Andre Anglin, something that, once more, you could take it as being trivial. You could consider it infighting. You can call it whatever you want, make of it what you will. But he said what he said. He's done what he's done. There can be no denying that. Make of it what you will, but it is what it is. He's going through a whole lot of effort, putting forth a lot of effort to keep people from even hearing this. So I'm going to make sure that you hear it. At least you hear it from me, my perspective of things. And there's a lot of things that he said in this broadcast that seemingly went over most people's head. They focus on the obvious points, but it's even worse than it appears because, well, first and foremost, let me just go ahead and play the actual clips that I have, and there might be a dozen of them or so minor points, maybe 20, 30 seconds each. I wasn't going to do this, but I think it's best that everyone hears this, especially in light of the fact that Andre's doing his best right now to remove all traces of this radio broadcast that he engaged in just in 2012. It wasn't that long ago, where most people don't have access to it. I'm sure he'll flag this video too, just like a Jew. But hey, make of it what you will. Let me play the first part here.
I see that point. That mixed races would be a positive progression for everyone. Everyone would be positively by that. But why? If I have a black girlfriend, why is my family? What? They're clearly pushing against and pushing all the shit of that races should breed together. I think the white race should be bred out. This is dangerous to have people.
His words, he thinks the white race should be bred out. Now, in the past, I would say things like he thinks the white race would be bred out of existence. So I added those two words, and that would be the type of thing that he would claim that I misquoted him on. And I think I cover that in a little attachment that I'm going to add to this video later, or to this audio later, so I'm not going to cover that in great detail now. But one of his points about my misquoting him would be something along those lines. The white race should be bred out. I would just simply say, based on my memory, bred out of existence, which is the same point that he makes. And that's the type of stuff that he's complaining about, my misquoting him. Well, there you heard it in his own words. Multiculturalism to him is a great thing. And he believes the white race should be bred out. This wasn't that long ago. More to the point, this guy has done nothing to even step up and say and acknowledge the fact that he said this. So why would we conclude that his viewpoint has changed? If he's not going to come out and say, you know what, guys, I said something last year, or rather 2012, so a couple of years ago at this point. But when it first started coming out last year, that everybody was calling him out on it. He could have simply stood up and owned it. I was a fool. I was drunk. I was whatever the case may be, whatever the excuse may be that he could possibly come up with. And I've learned so much since then. But to go from being a multiculturalist, someone who wants the white race or believes the white race should be bred out, to the new self-proclaimed leader of the American National Socialist Movement, i.e. a fighter/leader for whites. How does one pull that 180 without even acknowledging the fact that their position has changed? If he's not going to acknowledge this, if he's not going to come out and admit that he said this and at least offer some type of an excuse for it, we should assume that his views have not changed. If I said something and my position changed, I would certainly make it known to everyone. I meant it, but I was a fool, or I didn't know any better, or I've learned this, that, or the other since then, whatever my reasoning may be. But if I didn't do so, then I would expect everyone to just assume that I still believe those things. Seems like simple logic to me. Let's take him at his word. He believes the white race should be bred out. Multiculturalism is a positive thing in his eyes. This was 2012, not 2002. It wasn't that long ago. But regardless of when it took place, I don't see why a man, any man, especially one who has aspirations to be some great leader, wouldn't just come out and own his words. However, even worse, what this guy has done just in January of this year, 2014, he went to this guy, this Paul Ironshore guy, and bribed him and attempted to pay him off to remove the audio from the internet or to buy the rights for it. Sounds like something a Jew would do. Again, doesn't mean he's a Jew. It just means it's Jew-like tactics, the type of tactics we need to look out for across the board. As Jews attempt to lead every level of dissent, we need to know what to look out for. And in this, I don't want to say in this business, but in this arena where there are so many people attempting to mislead us, We cannot accept someone who's being deceitful, who's engaging in Jew-like tactics, and give them a free pass and trust the other things that they tell us, because we know that the Jews inject their poison in that way, telling us a whole hell of a lot of truth at the higher levels of descent, ultimately to mislead us on this topic, that topic, or the other. I can name 3 topics right now that are very important that Andre's on the wrong side of. When it comes to China, when it comes to Putin, obviously, and when it comes to the Jewish race / the entire structure of their system, and more to the point, their agenda. Other stuff I'm going to cover here as well, based on his words. And I would love nothing more than to debate this guy or any person head on, live, where he can respond and then I can respond back and forth. That seems to be the right / the white thing to do. But again, that's another tactic that people who are attempting to mislead you for whatever reason, it could just be his own selfish political aspirations. Who knows? Let's not get too far into analyzing the motives of another individual. Let's take their actions and their words at face value for what they are. Whatever his reasoning may be, there can be no mistake in the fact that he's engaging in Jew-like behavior. I'm not a troll. I'm a known white activist, if you will. I've been around for a lot longer than he has. That's not to throw it in his face. I'm just making the point that I didn't just come out of nowhere all of a sudden. I've been highly active and I've been around for long enough. Everyone's seen my face. It's not like I'm just some troll. The point is that should mean something where he wouldn't just selectively censor or ultimately ban me for having a different point of view, for calling him out on his tactics when it comes to those particular topics, i.e., the methods that he's using in order to convince people of his argument, the methods that he's using in order to silence the dissent on his website and his venue. All the type of stuff that we would expect to see from a person who has an ulterior motive, whatever that motive might be. Now, I just have these audio clips in front of me. I'm going to play them in no particular order, and then I'll just respond to them off the top of my head. Forgive me for being a little bit scattered. I've been working and just don't have the time here to put more effort into this, or to go through and make sure I have everything in order and taking notes and all this other nonsense. Let me just play what's next.
This stage is going to go for that lighter skin.
Dude, I'm only attracted
because
I'm
the
only attracted
conditioning
to
is
black
like
girls. Honestly.
Okay, well that's cool. That's cool because I'm attracted to all different kinds of girls. I mean, like
when you did a show with Anubis and he was like that we white people should all breed together.
Well, yeah, I think he wants to do like he's.
Well,
all
fuck
for the
that
white
shit, man. That's stupid.
He wants to go white. Well, that's his deal, man. Like that's his deal if he wants to do that. I mean,
I think that was the only point on that little clip, that he was saying that it was stupid because some other guy said that whites should breed only with whites. Fuck that shit, it's stupid, he says. I don't really need to add any commentary to that.
Game plan, man. I'm talking about a serious
what do you
game
care
plan.
about, man? What do you care about?
It's going to take.
What I care about is human beings and the species, man. I mean,
you can't me too, but you can't.
I should have played that afterwards because throughout this, that was the end, and the entire show, he's taken a humanitarian stance. I'm here for humanity. I'm here for. Not only that, he points out that whites have gone and done this and that to all the non-whites of the world, colonization and whatnot, and we've basically screwed everyone over. And he's here not for the white race, as he just said right there. He's here for the species. Not only here for the species, but to protect them from the technologies and every other evil the white man has bestowed upon them against their will. So once more, he went from being a multiculturalist who believes the white race should be brought out of existence and who was there for all of humanity, for the species, to suddenly being for specifically and solely and only the white race as the leader, the self-proclaimed leader of the white nationalist movement in America. Okay. If anybody buys into that, I don't know, I guess you'll believe anything. Let me go back to the beginning where I should have started in the first place.
Wait, are we recording now?
The shit is recording. Hey,
I'm just really excited to get to talk to you, man. I mean, everything, you're always sending me these angry messages, and I don't know.
Hey, look, man, angry messages, man. Look, this shit is serious to me. This shit is extremely serious
to me. It's serious to me. Everything is serious. I mean, you don't have to be, like, so aggressive all the time. I don't think that's productive.
It's aggressive because, look here, man. This is serious shit, man. You know what I mean? This is very serious.
Yeah, and it's no need to get too emotional about it, man. We're here now.
I don't know why I left that part in, but it's funny that Andre's kind of crawling to these two black guys and telling them to not be so aggressive and emotional with him when he's the one who's being a bit dramatic, overly dramatic there. And I don't know, whatever. Take that for what it's worth. Let me get on to some more important points.
Go ahead.
Okay, so what is the example of evil? How can we define evil? What is the evil behavior? The evil behavior, to me, I mean, what I've observed of this so-called evil behavior is it has to do with sadism and greed.
Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Well, yeah, that's obviously an evil behavior.
And let me sum all this up. Dare, if I will, paraphrase Andre. He'll say I'm misquoting him, but you can listen to this audio in its entirety and decide for yourself. He said it. I know how to interpret the words of another man, and it's clear after the 2.5 hours on this particular radio broadcast that he was suggesting that it's the system that's screwed up, that if whites or Jews or anyone else was in the system, they would also be corrupt. That it's not necessarily the Jews, or it's not the issue with the Jews or the differences between Jews and whites in particular, but that it's the entire system that causes everything that we are witnessing transpire today. So keep that in mind every time I hit play here and you hear another clip from Andre.
Now what?
Thanks.
Like, it makes no sense what you're talking about, man. Like, you're saying that there's no example of evil outside of the system. Yeah, you're not going to have an example of evil outside of a system, especially in the year 2000.
Let me see.
Now what?
Thanks.
Wait, in the year what?
Like, it makes no sense what you're talking about, man. Like, you're saying that there's no example of evil outside of the system. Yeah, you're not going to have an example of evil outside of a system, especially in the year 2012.
Just to go on record there so everyone can hear for themselves that this was 2012, not 2002 or some other far off time and date from a long time ago. And again, I could play that for a good 20 minutes. He's just essentially saying that it's the system. It's the system. And he goes on to try to give Jews a free pass, essentially.
People's natures.
Like the diamond. Look at diamonds, what they did with that.
Yeah. But do you think if somebody else had this capacity to do this, that they wouldn't be doing it? I mean, any of these other cults that you talk about, if they had the capacity to do it, would they not be doing it? I mean, Jews have bred themselves for intelligence. It's a eugenics program.
Oh, gosh. So many things wrong with that. And again, I don't know how this went over the head of so many. And part one of this audio series, which, by the way, I recorded part 1 and 2 a couple days ago. Today is the 30th, just for the record, when I'm finally getting to this last part on Andre. Nonetheless, I made a point there, a long one, where I had listed the type of things to expect from Aryans or from an Aryan society, all centered around our nature, our collective nature as a people. And I contrasted to that in which we should expect in a Jew-controlled society based on Jewish morality, and basically the differences between Jews and whites. They are the polar opposites of whites. I don't know how anyone could have the idea that we're all the same. And that's what he's saying here. Number one, he's going off on how the Jews are intelligent. They're intelligent. He can't help himself. And I've noticed that trend throughout all my experience with Jews. Again, I'm not calling him a Jew, but I've noticed this throughout my experience all across the board. Many of you would identify right away. Jews can't help themselves when it comes to talking about how intelligent they are. They want to believe, and they want everyone else to believe, that they're in their position of power over us because of their intelligence, not because of their deceitful tactics, their backstabbing, their warmongering, their cheating. They're being willing to do shit that's simply unconscionable to us, things that we wouldn't be willing to do. And here Andre is saying that we're interchangeable, that if whites, and he's putting it in the context of Ironshaw's mentioning of cults. He calls groups like this cults. White nationalists would be a cult to him. So he's saying if there was another group of people in charge, that wouldn't it be the same thing? Shouldn't we expect the same results? That power corrupts, the system corrupts, and it's not the people, and that Jews are just intelligent, not evil, not out to, and he points out that it's about greed. Once more, anyone who's telling you that this agenda is about money, you shouldn't listen to them. They're either a goddamn fool who hasn't spent the time or doesn't have the mental fortitude to put things together and understand that money is just a means to an end, to our end. This is a race-based agenda through and through, top to bottom. That's what it's always been about. That's the only thing we should be concerned with. They are undermining our existence. And even when it comes to Putin, a quick point there, the fact that he has made Moscow a third world city, and the fact that there are more immigrants there now than at any time before in the past. Like I said, Russia has the second largest immigration population in the world. There's nothing else we should really need to know about this guy. All his pro-Jewish rhetoric about the Holocaust, all his anti-white stuff. European Americans were so evil to blacks and Indians and so on and so forth. It's a common theme that I hear from all these bastards, from Putin on down, to include Andre on many levels here, which you're going to see in just a second. Unbelievably.
People's natures, like the diamond, look at to be in the cult. It has nothing to do with intelligence.
No, but it does have to do with intelligence. It has to do with an intelligence level, and it has to do with a sort of what you would call an evil trait. Because if anybody doesn't want to go along with the Jewish, if anybody doesn't want to go along with the Jewish religion, they're going to be like a Bobby Fischer. And are they going to continue to be Jewish? Or no,
Are they going to continue being Jewish? So here in Andre's 2012 commentary, he's saying that being a Jew is a matter of choice. Jews and whites are interchangeable when it comes to power and control. The evil would be there because the system's evil, so they're no more evil than we are. They're far more intelligent, according to him, but they're no more evil than we are. And what did he just say there again? I have to hear that again.
Be in the cult. It has nothing to do with intelligence.
No, but it does have to do with intelligence. It has to do with an intelligence.
And this black guy's letting him know it doesn't have to do with intelligence.
It's called an evil trait. Because if anybody doesn't want to go along with the if anybody doesn't want to go along with the Jewish religion, they're going to be like a Bobby Fischer. And are they going to continue to be Jewish? Or no,
Are they going to? I got to cover that again redundantly. That's some Brother Nathaniel level stuff there, where he's trying to tell people that being a Jew is a matter of choice. Again, first and foremost, Jew 101, part 1 of this audio series. We need to know at all times, if we have any hope of defeating them, that they're coming at us from a race-based angle of attack. It is all about their race and the destruction of our race. Anything that feeds into something contrary to that is meant to mislead us into believing that being a Jew is a matter of choice. A white person could be a Jew, and thus a Jew can be a white person, just like that, by simply denouncing Judaism. And not only is that nonsense, it's very dangerous. At the highest levels of dissent, that's what they attempt to convince us of. Sure, you stupid goyim, you know that it's the Jews. However, let us confuse you as to exactly what is a Jew. Being a Jew is a matter of choice. So when the ship starts to sink, all the little Jewish rats can just stand up and suddenly proclaim that they're whites. Put on the garb, like the Christian garb, like Nathaniel does, Nathaniel Kapner, and just say, well, a Jew no more I am. Accept me into your arms, brother. Same level of propaganda, same type of very damaging lies. Next part.
They look at everyone else as being subhuman and they being God's chosen.
We're going
right?
But every people thought that. Every people thought that before. I mean, before, when you go back to tribes, every tribe thought that.
How do we know what every people thought, though? Okay.
Well, we don't really know that. We don't.
Well, look.
That's a good point.
No,
but
wow, I mean, these black guys got him going in circles. He doesn't even know what the hell he's talking about. He's saying that, once more, Paul Ironshore says, well, the Jews treat us like shit in large part because they believe themselves to be God chosen. And then the other guy chimes in and says, yeah, the rest of us are just goyim. And then Andre is saying, well, all tribes, all groups of people have done this before. And then the other guy says, clearly, you know, what do you know about what people have done before? And he concedes that point. But the point that I'm making here is that he's trying to, in so many different ways, suggest to us, tell us that Jews are no worse than whites, that we would be doing the same thing that they're doing if only we had the opportunity. A ridiculous notion in the first place, because if we had the evil gene that they have, we're far more intelligent than they are, contrary to Andre's worshiping of Jewish intelligence. We're far more capable, and we could have enslaved or annihilated the entire world, the entire non-white world, including the Jews, had it been our desire to do so. These are parasites. They use us to kill each other. They use us to kill others. They use others to kill us. They have never threatened us directly. It's the differences between us that makes this such a problem, because we use that, ethnomorphism to try and understand them. We project our morality and way of thinking onto them. And that's the biggest mistake, the first mistake that many of us make. They are as different from us as is humanly possible. So much so that I sometimes have my doubts that these bastards are human beings. The destructive nature, the lack of care and consideration for the environment and everything else. They lack that bond to nature and planet Earth that all other beings instinctively have. That's a side note. I'm not going to get off on that, but let me play the next clip here. Point is, they're as different from us as is possible, and he's just trying to make it sound like we're all interchangeable.
Well, show me where that happened in history, man. Show me where people that cared about other people were in charge of other people. It didn't ever happen. Never happened. Every single time you put somebody in charge of other people's lives,
we can't do nothing.
Now that's some big bullshit right there, is it not? This guy's going on with National Socialism like he's the next Hitler. Total fascism, the Daily Stormer, like he's an expert on all things Hitler and National Socialism, etc. And he says, where's there an example? Let's play this again. This is definitely worth playing a second time.
Well, show me where that happened in history, man. Show me where people that cared about other people were in charge of other people.
Hitler, the National Socialists, loved not only the German people, but the Aryan people. That's when it happened, buddy. That's when it happened. Look what the Germans accomplished in such a very short period of time. All attributed to Aryan traits, the collective abilities of the Aryan people, and most importantly, freedom from Jewish control. They stunt our growth. They taint us. They turn us into something we are not. They project their morality onto us. Look at all the filth and pornography in 1920s Germany, particularly Berlin. Look at what we're facing today. They bring out the absolute worst in us. Once more, in a Gentile society, in an Aryan society, we excel. It's safe. It's clean. Crime-free, filth-free, so on and so forth. Science and medicine. We make accomplishments, or just, again, look at what the Germans accomplished in a relatively short period of time. Not even a decade of having reestablished Germany and not being in war. Look at everything they accomplished in such a very short period of time. But more to the point, look how much Hitler and the entire power structure loved its people. They valued even the menial laborers. Work was valued. Therefore, every single person in that society could feel worthy. No need for suicide or feeling out of place and all the shit that we deal with today where none of us fit in. Why? Because that trickle-down effect that I always speak about, responsible leadership. You're either going to bring out the best in people as the National Socialists did, or you're going to do as the Jews and bring out the absolute worst in people. So, yes, having proper leadership, Aryan leadership in homogeneously Aryan societies, that means everything. And he's here suggesting or flat out saying that there's never been an instance of the ruling class treating those they rule kindly and with love. And this from a self-proclaimed leader of the National Socialist movement. I don't get it. Once more, this is 2012, not 2002. And if he pulled a 180 and suddenly came to wake up, read Mein Kampf, and just put so much effort into his awakening, where he would come that far that fast, it would necessitate acknowledging what he said just a short time ago in order to establish any credibility whatsoever in those he's attempting to influence at this point in time. It's natural. Again, that's the white man's way. You say something, own up to it. Don't go around like a little weasel trying to buy the rights to this show so no one hears it, trying to cover your tracks. And even furthermore, he went threatening to sue these people. Who does that other than a little weaselly Jew? Threatening to sue people to take something down that you said? Rather than standing up like a man and owning those words, he made himself look worse in his recent response here in 2014 to attempt to buy these people off and then to threaten them and then to go around frantically removing every trace of this audio from the internet. I'm sure he'll flag this video as well. That is worse than the things he said, if that's possible. You know, it seems like it couldn't get any worse than the stuff that I'm playing here. But yet, in my mind at least, his reaction right now, recently, a couple of months ago, is worse. Shows me nothing's changed. He's not owning these words and offering any excuse whatsoever. He's just trying to make them disappear. It's dishonest. What else would you call it? I'm being kind here. I'm saying it's dishonest. What else would you, Andre, and I know you're going to eventually listen to this, or anyone else out there, if it's not dishonest, then what is it? Because it seems highly suspicious, deceptive, and dishonest to me. Who does that sort of thing? Other than Jews, it's Jew-like behavior in the very least, not to mince my words or walk on eggshells. I'm calling it like it is. But to call someone a Jew, you know, hey, it doesn't even matter when they're engaging in behavior like this. It's deceptive. You can't believe someone who's so eager to participate in behavior like this, even to this day, or at least in January of 2014, not long ago at all. You'd be a goddamn fool to believe a liar, a dishonest person. So why would you trust anything he says, even if 99% of the things that he talks about are true. You're telling you stuff you already know. That's what people who lead the dissent do. So, you know, there's definitely a big, gigantic window open there that he is exactly that, controlled dissent. But in the very least, he's dishonest. And, you know, you make of that what you will, but I don't trust dishonest people. If someone lies to me about something at any point in time over any matter, trivial even, let alone stuff as important as this, I'd be a damn fool to trust them. They're waiting to poison the apple, so to speak, to poison the movement, to interject it, to inject it. And you just can't trust people like that. And I think I pointed this out before, but I'm going to point it out again. Those who lead the dissent are always going to have a certain amount of casualties that are acceptable, people who are going to fall through the cracks and continue to question things, including them. And that's the approach that they take when they censor the way that Andre did, knowing that it's going to make them look bad in the eyes of some, but it's the lesser of the two evils, because to allow a person like myself to continue calling him out and holding him accountable, I mean, how dare I hold him accountable based on the things he said and has done? I mean, how dare I do that, right? Who does, and I ask this question as well, who does that? Who holds himself above questioning? Me, if I said something or did something, I'm going to own it. In fact, someone's not going to have to dig it up. I've pretty much confessed every goddamn embarrassing, shameful thing that I've ever done. Everything. No one's had to bring it out. I've done it myself. But if someone brought something up that, I don't know, I overlooked it or whatever it may be, I'm going to respond immediately. Not because I'm running for any office, I need donations. I don't ask for anything from anybody, but because it's the honest thing to do. Because it's an attack on my character, and I would defend myself and at least explain myself, or in the very least say, hey, I was 100% wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. It is what it is. This is what it was. Either understand and forgive or not, even when it comes to the original sin that I confessed to when I first came out in 2007, when I was first racially aware and Jew wise. Crucify me for it. Hang me for it. Just give me the opportunity to fight for my race in the meantime. I don't deny the fact that I engaged in the original sin. It is, my past is what it is in that regard. So on and so forth. If I could give several examples, I'm just making a point. It's not to compare Andre to but I am who I am, right? So my argument, my perspective is going to be based on what I would do and what I would expect another white man to do in a similar position. No matter what you've done, no matter how unforgivable it may be, even in your own mind, I hold myself to a much higher standard than any of you ever will. It's the white thing to do, to stand up, acknowledge it, and then move on to greater things that you hope to accomplish. Putting myself under the tracks, under the bus, it doesn't matter. I'm here for the collective. I'm here for my race. I'm here to do what's right. Me as an individual, it doesn't matter. Andre should take the same approach. His ego, his image, that shit, in the very least, it seems to me, in the very least, that's what he's attempting to protect here. And that's the best case scenario. That's the best excuse he could offer, is to say, hey, it made me look bad. I was drunk. I just looked like an asshole. And I don't know, even if he was drunk, the truth comes out then. Whatever his excuse may be, it make him look bad personally. However, the truth trumps all. The movement is more important than any of this. Therefore, I apologize, but let's move on. I don't know. That seems like, you know, the natural approach to take. He claims to be 100% Celtic. Maybe he is. As am I, very close to it. So I would expect a fellow Aryan, and specifically someone who shares as much DNA as he apparently does, to have some similarities in approach here. But hey, I guess I'm wrong for assuming so much or expecting so much from other people. Let me go on to a second part here. I have 40 minutes each when I'm recording on this little phone here, so I have to splice this together now. Anyhow, let me go ahead and play a couple more clips here. And like I was saying, I want to play it all because, or at least the most important points, since he's putting forth such great effort to remove every trace of this from the internet. At least you'll be able to hear in his own words some of these points.
Back and you look at like Leave It to Beaver and shit, you see these Leave It to Beaver shows, and everyone seems to have the kind of like American.
That's fake. That's not real white people.
But here's the thing. Yeah, it is fake, right? It was fake, but everyone everyone tried to emulate that to a certain degree because that's what it was expected for them to do.
And this black guy certainly knows more than Andre does or did. He's talking about Leave It to Beaver. Andre can't help but chime in and say, oh, that's fake. That's fake. I mean, that's not representative of Aryan culture, Aryan society, of Aryan ways. And then Ironshore goes on to explain, well, then that's what becomes expected. And that feeds into the point that I'm always making about responsible leadership. It trickles down. If you have Leave It to Beaver running on television 24/7, then people are going to aspire to be like the characters in Leave It to Beaver. If you have all this filth and pornography and horror and everything else that the Jews put on television, then people are going to gravitate towards that type of behavior and those thoughts. So it's indicative of whether you're living in a Jew-controlled or an Aryan-controlled society that is dominated by one or the other. Leave It to Beaver was just an example, one of the last remnants of white morality, and it drives people to aim high, so to speak. It brings out the best in them. But no, that's all just fake to Andre, because we're all inherently evil, or those of us who get into the system, we become evil, whether we're Jew or otherwise. Now, I'm trying to find a clip here, and if I don't find it right now, I'm just going to leave it to you to dig this audio up and listen to it yourself. But he goes on talking about whites, colonization, and how we've ruined the world. Let me see if I can find it before I go commenting on it too much.
Why should everybody else be forced into it? You see the way white people, and it is white people, went around the whole world. The whole world they went around and fucked everybody. And
wow, that was it right away. It was my last little clip here, and I saved it for a reason, or I put it where it's at for a reason. This is on par with the Putin stuff. The anti-white propaganda. If he's white, it's self-hatred. If he's a leader of some sorts, a truth seeker, then he hasn't sought the truth in the right way. He hasn't dug deep enough. He's still buying into the Jewish propaganda that whites are these evil colonizers who have went and fucked everyone up. And listen to the tone of his voice. Listen how he stresses these points. I'm going to play it once more.
Why should everybody else be forced into it? You see the way white people, and it is white people.
Look, just listen how he says white people. He's spitting it out. White people. It's with such hatred and disdain. And am I misinterpreting this? Am I hearing it wrong? Am I being petty here? Am I being childish? Is this because Andre rubbed me the wrong way and I'm sore? Of course not. I'll debate this guy anytime he wants. I'm not the one who's shying away from that. I'm not attacking his credibility and his character because I can't rebut his message. I would love nothing more than to go toe-to-toe with him. Like he said, Andre and Scott Roberts in the octagon. I'll go in a real octagon with him. That's beside the point, but I don't shy away from anything, any type of fight, let alone a debate when it comes to issues that are far more important than his ego or what anyone thinks of me or whatever it may be. I want, and I tried my best to stick to the facts. I think that's clear. The fact that I waited, I don't know how many months it's been since August, right? So over half a year to finally even respond to this audio that was given to me way back when. Why? Because the entire time I was just trying to stick to the facts. Every time he tried to discredit me, I would say, hey, well, what does Alex Jones have to do with me? Or can you please just stick to the points that I've made? I try to keep us on track, basically. I try to stick to the topics that we were attempting, or that I was attempting to debate with him. So no one could argue that I'm being petty or presenting stuff that's in any way trivial. This isn't trivial. This is the guy who presents himself as being a white nationalist leader, the next leader of the National Socialist movement in America. And this is somebody who's, again, I could list all the things he just said, but right here, who clearly has a disdain towards whites, who in the very least buys into the Jew-taught history that whites are evil oppressors and that we're forcing everything on the non-whites of the world. At the end of the audio, his mission is to save these non-whites. I think he was in the Philippines at the time of this recording, somewhere in Asia at least. But his mission in life is to save these non-whites from all the evil technologies, the evil technologies that these dangerous whites have brought to the world. So rather than pointing out all the great things that we brought to this world and how humanity has benefited greatly, he wants to focus on how people are suffering for it. But he's failing to point out that these technologies of ours were in the wrong hands, in the hands of the Jews, who are using these otherwise beneficial technologies against humanity. So if he wanted to fight against somebody, it wouldn't be against whites or their technology. It would be against the Jews who are misusing that technology. At this stage, he can't claim ignorance. He knew that the Jews were in control. They spoke about it in this very audio. So to then turn around and just blame it all on whites. Oh, well, whites would do the same thing Jews would do if Jews were in their position. And so it's like, forget about the Jews. Let's bring it back to the whites. That's what he does here. It's slick, it's sly, and some people fall for this shit, but I see right through it. Am I wrong in my assessment? Can you interpret it some other way? I can't. Everything he's doing in this audio clip is exactly that. Mitigating Jewish crimes and, in fact, projecting them onto whites. And taking the good things that we've brought to this world, our innovative technologies, science, medicine, and everything else, and blaming it on whites, or blaming what the Jews have done with that on whites. This is inexcusable. There's not an excuse he could offer for this stuff. That's why he wants it taken down from the internet. He knows that some people have heard it, but they're not going to read into it as much as I just did. That's just for whatever reason. I have a way of breaking things down. I have a way of seeing through the bullshit that these people attempt to pull on us. So rather than deal with it directly and bring attention to it, where other people such as myself may have taken it for what it was right away, just as I did, he wants it gone. And then people could come back and say what they want. But if his audience, if the vast majority of his audience lack the access to hear it themselves, then he can just claim that it's a matter of interpretation. You know, people are attacking him. Oh, poor Andre, they're just attacking him. And again, attack on a messenger is a tactic. Attacking someone, in quotes, based on the things they've said or done is not an attack at all. It's holding them accountable for the things they've said and done. I gotta play this again. I'm gonna play it out. It's just shocking to me. I know that everyone would want to focus on the point where he says he wants to see, or he wishes the white race would be bred out of existence. Let me add that part, because that's what he means. That he wishes the white race would be bred out. I mean, right then and there, again. With Putin allowing non-whites to flood Moscow and all of Russia, with Putin going on with his anti-white rhetoric, automatically should disqualify him in the minds of any white nationalist. Anyone who's racially aware should hear stuff like this and then conclude right away, nothing else that this person says holds any weight. I don't trust this person. Why would you trust someone who's saying what Andre is saying here, who's feeding into the anti-white propaganda, which is their entire power system and their entire agenda that's being carried out today depends on this false history, depends on our holding our heads down in shame based on this false guilt that he's not only feeding into, that he's spitting out with clear animosity and anger towards whites. And white people have done this. And again, being an apologist for Jews, saying that we would do what the Jews are doing if only we were in their position. Jesus Christ. This is not his hatred and his animosity, and all the blame goes on whites. When it comes to Jews, the Jews did it. Jews are in control, but if everyone else would do the same if they were in control. That's the gist of his argument throughout this audio. And furthermore, to only add to that is how intelligent Jews are. Jews are super intelligent. They're so intelligent. He just can't help himself when it comes to that. Go back and listen to the audios that I did with him, and I called him out on this. As soon as he had the opportunity to bring it up, well, Jews are so great. They're so intelligent. They're so smart. They're so smart. You can't deny the fact they're the smartest people there on the planet. I mean, again, I'm paraphrasing here. If he wants to claim that I'm misquoting him, go back and listen to it. I don't know the exact word for word. It's been damn near a year. But I know that he went on about how smart Jews are on several occasions. Till eventually I called him out on it so aggressively that he didn't do it anymore.
So why should everybody else be forced into it? You see the way white people, and it is white people, went around the whole world.
And it is white people.
They went around.
The whole world they went around
and made them
fucked everybody.
Christianity and money.
Boom! I forgot to let that part play. Christianity and money. And this is the guy who's just reborn here, who just found his religion again recently with Putin. I spoke with him quite a few times on Skype or whatever else, and he never took such a pro-Christian approach. He didn't like Christian bastards, I'll grant him that much, but he acknowledged that he was agnostic. He wasn't a religious man himself. So suddenly now, because with most people, to be quite frank, I mean, I'm not a religious person. I'll let you know that. I'm never going to pretend to be one just because I know that most of my audience would use that to buy whatever I'm selling. He's attempting to sell Putin, so suddenly he found his religion. Suddenly he goes on about Putin being sent here by God. Why? Because he knows that in the mind of a religious person, that's going to make them believe. So any shortcut that he could take to convince someone to support Putin, that's exactly what he did. So this agnostic, at best, based on my interpretation of the things he said. Again, I'm paraphrasing, but he was far from being a religious man. Suddenly found his religion. Here he is, 2012, bashing Christianity, bashing the hell out of whites. I'm going to play it once again.
So why should everybody else be forced into it? You see the way white people, and it is white people, went around the whole world. The whole world they went around and fucked everybody and made them accept this shit. Christianity and money.
So it was white people who went and forced Christianity on everyone, and it's about money. This isn't a race-based agenda against the white race. It's all about money. Not for the Jews, but for whites. So whites went around colonizing the world and doing all this for material wealth, for money, and to spread Christianity. And he says that with such anger and clear disdain towards whites. White people went around the world, the entire world, stressing these points. Listen to the tone in his voice, the aggressiveness, the repetitiveness of it for effect. You don't really have to read into it. He's making his anti-white agenda here clear. And I don't understand how someone goes from being an anti, as Andre undeniably was, to being this great white leader that he now proclaims himself to be. Now, once more on a personal note, like I said, a person such as myself who's bending over backwards, doing everything I absolutely can do to spread the truth, to further the cause, my righteous cause, unashamedly, fearlessly, so on and so forth, without rest. You look for people to aid you in doing so. So you get enamored with them quite quickly when you see that they're speaking a whole lot of truth. You don't always recognize the poison that they're attempting to interject until later. And these are very important points that Andre is trying to poison this movement with. To accept this Putin bullshit, to accept this next war. The National Socialists fought to prevent that same regime in Russia from taking over Europe. And now he's on the bandwagon. Now he's supporting them. Just because they have a new puppet in place, a new face. Putin, a new face, literally, plastic surgery included. So he's a National Socialist, but he's actually supporting the regime that the real National Socialists fought to the death to protect us from. Does that make a whole lot of sense? Does it make a whole lot of sense that this person spewing this anti-white propaganda would actually turn around and become a white nationalist leader? When they don't even own these words, when they don't even acknowledge them and come out and say, well, I thought that before, but I no longer do. Once again, we can only assume that he still believes these things since he's never gone on record to take them back, to explain them. He's just trying to make them disappear. If that's anything less than dishonest, please let me know. If you think I'm being petty and trivial and that somehow my butt is sore, so to speak, he didn't rip me a new one. He didn't defeat me in any debate. I would so-called own this guy. He knows it. That's why he's engaging in censorship. That's why he's not facing me directly. So don't project his defeat in our debate onto me as a reason for this. But even if it was, even if I was that petty, once more, I would have brought it up a long time ago, but even if I was that petty, he said these things. Is my assessment wrong? Am I making something out of this? Are you going to be towards Andre as you are towards Putin and suggest that he said these things and he's done these things for tactful reasons? I don't know. Maybe you will. Maybe some of you will. And again, when people are attempting to mislead others or whatever their agenda may be, they would rather discredit themselves entirely, remove all doubt in the minds of 10, 20% of their audience, of those who are just too smart to be fooled by it, than to lose credibility with their entire audience that they attempt to mislead, or again, I have to say mislead because his tactics scream of his desires to mislead people to whatever end, for whatever reason. I can only guess and assume. But I don't have to guess and assume when it comes to the things he said or that I've witnessed him do. And neither do you. Our interpretation of things might be different. Granted. But once more, I find more or as much fault in his attempted cover-up and the tactics that he's used on the back end here to conceal the things that he said and done, as much as the actual words that he's speaking in this audio. And one more time here, just for good measure.
Why should everybody else be forced into it? You see the way white people, and it is white people, went around the whole world. The whole world they went around and fucked everybody and made them accept this shit. Christianity and money.
Well, there it is, folks. I could go on, believe it or not. As I said in part one, I recorded all of this last week. Almost a week ago at least. And I even took some notes, but I just decided to go off the cusp here and give my interpretation of things he said while playing a few of these audio clips. I have the audio in its entirety. I'm going to upload it to TrueTube. Let's see if Andre will even attack Mike Delaney over at TrueTube to have this removed. And I say attack because I don't think Mike's going to remove it. I'll ask him not to. So therefore, it would, in essence, be an attack when he goes and has to flag it or report it or whatever else he's going to do here, as he'll probably do with this very audio as well. And, all that's going to do is confirm what I'm saying, reconfirm it. It's going to let people know that he doesn't care what those of you think who have already heard it. He just wants to go into damage control and keep others from hearing it. But by removing it or having it removed, it's going to remove all doubt. And anyone who's listening to my voice at this point in time, he's going to be proving my case for me. The alternative is to have a debate with me. And ultimately, that's what I want here. Let's go ahead and debate these issues, because this Putin stuff is far greater than Andre Anglin or Scott Roberts or anything else. So I just want to debate this guy. I would be a gentleman to him. I will let him speak and then speak in my turn and so on and so forth. Of course I will. I would do that with a Jew. I would do that with a jigaboo. It doesn't matter. So all this thoughts and feelings and things that have been said back and forth aside, they don't matter when it comes to the greater issues that we should all be focusing on and discussing. At the same time, when someone pulls some bullshit like this and who promotes such damaging dogma, they're going to get called out on it by me. And I don't give a goddamn if 99% of you are saying, well, don't engage in the infighting, Scott. So that's telling me to shut up is what you're doing. And it's just not going to happen. These issues are far too important for ego or this false illusion that there's unity amongst us. And I say us very loosely because, once more, I don't know Andre from Adam. He is not on my team based on the shit that I just heard him say that I played for you, or in the tactics that he's been engaging in directly with me and with others. That's not somebody I admire in the least bit. I don't look up to him. I don't trust him. Why would I consider it infighting? He's not one of mine. He's not of the same morality. He's not on my team. He just does things that I would never even dream of doing, so on and so forth. So this whole notion that it's infighting is ridiculous. Let's put that to rest. But once more, when push comes to shove, I want to debate him. I want to discuss these issues. I want to revisit China and the global Jewish conspiracy and all that, because when we had our original debate, he pulled almost a 180 on me. I mean, he presented an argument to me that I didn't think was the basis of his entire argument or bringing the debate up in the first place. So I was ill prepared, admittedly, and I wasn't aware that he was going to go on to engage in all that Alex Jones stuff and all those Jew-like tactics. And when I was attempting to carry on the debate, it was on his website where he was able to selectively censor me. So I've been calling him out on the debate to revisit those topics, and now, especially with this stuff with Putin. But he wants no part of it. He doesn't have time? Come on, this guy is living off donations and daddy's money. He doesn't have a girlfriend, a wife, or kids, or anyone else to care for. I got 9 mouths to feed. I run a farm, so on and so forth. I'll make the time. This isn't a comparison, but I'm just making the point here that cannot be an excuse that he doesn't have the time. There's no way that this young guy has any less time than I do. With as much dedication as I put forth to this cause, as much time as I spend on my activism, it's at least as much as he does. At least. And I've been doing it tirelessly for many times more than he has, for years upon years now. So whatever his excuse may be, I will discuss these things with him. Fact by fact, point by point. And if he is worth anything, he would do this. If he's, as I say, a person who relies on Jew tactics, who has an ulterior motive, and who in the very least is dishonest, then he will ignore this and then attempt to have it all removed. What's the third alternative? We'll see. I don't know. That seems to me to be the two avenues that he could go down. You make of it what you will. If he wants to debate me, great. We can get to the bottom of things. If he makes some good points and presents some facts, I'm going to concede. I have no problem. If I'm wrong in my assessment, if somehow he or Putin himself proves to me that Putin's on the right side of things, I'll be the first person to say I'm wrong. And you know what? I'm glad I was wrong, because it's good to have hope. It's good to have someone in that position of power, on our side of things. I have no problem admitting when I'm wrong. There's nothing wrong with being wrong. I'm not the one who has that issue. I'm not the one who has this image or this ego to protect. I can acknowledge where I'm wrong and still go on and present new arguments and either admit I'm wrong on those or be proven right. So I don't have to be right all the time or have this illusion that I'm right all the time, so people just believe me. And the only person who would do that, in my estimation, is someone who's planning on lying, who's planning on relying on blind faith and trust in their followers. So if you start admitting you're wrong, then people might think, well, shit, he might be wrong on this too. That to me speaks of having an ulterior motive, a hidden agenda. Does it not? Is my assessment wrong? Let me know. Because, otherwise, like I said, there's nothing wrong with admitting you're wrong. You just want to get to the bottom of things. It's not about you. It's not about misleading people. You don't need people to trust you blindly. I've never wanted people to trust me blindly. Anything I've ever said, I've encouraged, I've implored, I've in fact begged people, please go verify these things for yourself. This is my interpretation. Here are the facts, and this is my interpretation. But please look into these things for yourself. I don't say, trust me, I'm never wrong. I've never been wrong before. I've never acknowledge it. So if I don't acknowledge it, then people might just be fooled and conclude that I am never wrong. So when I tell you some shit that I know to be bullshit, Just trust me on it because I've never been wrong in the past. I mean, that's the type of psychology that I would apply to that, or that I would, assume to be behind it. Again, it's honest. That's an honest assessment there. Whether I'm right or wrong, whether you agree with it or not, it's my assessment. But that's the type of reasoning or thought process that I would attribute to that behavior, that unwillingness to give an inch, to admit you're wrong on even the slightest thing. And, all the cover up, everything that Andre's done just kind of feeds into that. It just supports that. It's what makes me present that as being a reason for it. It exists. This isn't stuff that I'm making up out of thin air. But once more, I'll go in circles with this. If he wants to debate me on these issues, great. He should come out with these personal things. It's not personal because he's speaking about the white race with disdain. He's talking about all the issues that matter to us, about Jewish control, about everything else. So it's not personal. It's not like, he did something in his personal life that has nothing to do with the movement. No, this was just 2012, not that long ago. And he was an anti. If I heard that and I didn't know it was Andre, I'd have just said, yeah, it's just some run-of-the-mill anti. Everything he said, he's an anti and a Jew apologist at that. He hates whites and he's apologizing and trying to mitigate and trivialize the Jewish power over us and the things that they're doing to us, against us. And then redirecting all that focus onto whites. Holy shit. I mean, that was some slick, slimy tactics right there being put on full display. So, if my interpretation is off, please let me know, because goddamn if that wasn't an anti-speaking right there. If he's changed, come on, let's go ahead and debate. Let's discuss these things. You should speak to your audience and explain to them how you change, why you change. How on the earth you went from this anti-white, pro-Jewish bullshit to being the next National Socialist leader in America. Please, I would like to know, how does a person go from one extreme to the next without even acknowledging it? But finally, now acknowledge it, please, by all means. Even though it took all these other people calling you out, and now my calling you out. Acknowledge it. You got to do something, man. You can't just ignore this shit forever. More and more people are going to hear it. I'm not the type person to just go away either. So you could flag this video. You could threaten to sue me like a little Jew. Whatever you want to do. The more you do it, the more I'm going to post this. The harder I'm going to come in on you. It's my nature. It's how I've always been. Never shied away from it. I've never backed down. The whole 1,000+ YouTube channels in a 1.5 span of time that I went through. You talk about dedication. You talk about refusing to relent. That's me. So if you want to go that route, I'm game. I'm not going anywhere. I'll be here as long as it takes, doing everything else that I do, but I will continue to hammer away at you and, more importantly, your bullshit that you're putting forth that is very damaging on a very fundamental level to this movement. You're undermining the very purpose here, the understanding that people absolutely, positively, necessarily have to have when it comes to understanding what this agenda is all about. And you're trying to get them to put their guard down from the angles of attack that the Jews are most likely to rely on: Russia, China, so on and so forth. So these are very important issues. It's not that Anglin is important. It's about these issues. And we need to get to the bottom of these. And anyone who's promoting this pro-Jewish bullshit that is, again, I can't stress this enough, very damaging, not to our cause, but to our very existence, to the future of our children. It's something I'm going to take personally. It's something I'm going to take a personal vendetta against, where I'm going to call these people out. I'm going to aggressively rebut their bullshit and, take it for what it's worth. Call it emotion. I'm being overly emotional, whatever it may be. I'm passionate about this. And if Andre has any passion about it, if he has any faith in his own argument,